with limited budgets. The firms don't have endless budgets. If you have endless budgets, then there is no problem, but you typically do not have endless budgets. So you are limited in terms of the budget, which means firms will resort to something called capital rationing. What is capital rationing? It is nothing but, simplistically speaking, allocation of money to projects which are more profitable. So common sense, if I have two projects, the one which is more profitable is what I will look at. Now, in the event of a straightforward understanding, let's say project 1 NPV 1 is greater than NPV 2, IRR 1 is greater than IRR 2, it's a no-brainer. I have to pick this one. For the same investment, I have to pick project 1. The issue starts happening if, on the contrary, you have a project which is rated on NPV in another fashion and IRR on another fashion. So let's look at these two projects, project A cash flows, project B cash flows, both requiring an initial investment of 200, both generating the funds over a period of time. When you look at NPV and IRR values, project B has an NPV of 73.21, project A has a lower NPV. On the contrary, project A has an IRR of 21.9, project B has an IRR of 18.9. So in terms of NPV ranking, you will select B. In terms of IRR ranking, you will select A. Remember, IRR is just the maximum return you can get from a project. It does not mean that you will get this result or return. So effectively, in the case of this kind of a scenario where you have a dilemma between choosing a project based on NPV or IRR, we will stick to the project that is superior in terms of net present value. For my $200 million, the project that gives me an NPV, a higher NPV in terms of the money, is what I will select. Fine. So in the event of a problem in the rule, you will effectively select the one with a higher NPV. Fine. Now also, if you look at the profile of an NPV with respect to discount rate. So on this side we have, let's say, the present value of cash flows. On this we have the discount rate. Any project could have this kind of a profile. Some projects may have unconventional cash flows, so they could end up with 2 IRRs. Some projects could have no IRRs. Some projects may have, multiple IRRs as well. So effectively, what is happening is, let's look at this curve. Let's assume a project has this curve. This point where NPV becomes 0 is effectively the IRR. This point where the discount rate becomes 0 is effectively the sum of undiscounted cash flows. Fine. So effectively, this is what is known as the NPV profile. You could get some conceptual questions around this as well. It's important to understand this, that where it hits the horizontal axis is the point where you have an IRR. In the case of multiple IRRs, you could have a curve like this. Fine. So that's some